Hello, I'm Mary V. Today, let's talk about posture. We all know that being rigid when we're holding the violin in any way eventually causes us a lot of pain. So posture, in a way, is just a starting point because when we play the violin, there's a lot of things that are moving and should move. For example, our head should move, our arms are moving, but the violin also should move. So it's not about, posture isn't about finding one position, an upright position, and we just stay in that position. No, there's actually a lot of movement that we need to talk about. So one of the first things that helps with posture is having a good shoulder rest that's properly fitted, so that it brings the violin round to the front so you can look down the fingerboard. That's essential, because if you hold your violin out to the left too much, then it puts a strain on your neck, obviously, because your head is turned. And it's a kind of permanent position. A lot of people who do that, they get a lot of pain down their arm. Their shoulders are sore and they get a sore neck. So bring your violin as much as you can round to the front. Because posture is really to do with being as natural as possible. So obviously good posture for a 70-year-old is very different than it is for a 7-year-old. But there are some quite easy things that we can incorporate into our practice that do help us to feel more comfortable and easy while we're playing. So one of the easiest things to think about is actually breathing. Because when you open up your rib cage, it makes quite a difference to the position of your violin. It's such a good idea to just do a couple of large breaths just before you practice, to open out your rib cage and to give you the feeling that you're much more opened out. So the next thing is, if you think about the position of the left arm especially, it's in a rather unnatural position for quite a long time. And one of the best ways to relieve that feeling, if it starts to get stiff and sore, is to just do the opposite and squeeze your shoulder blades behind. You can open your arms, and as you're doing that, you can open your rib cage and take a few deep breaths. And keep doing that. Squeeze your shoulder blades until you feel some heat coming into your shoulders. So good for you. In fact, when I was in the orchestra and we performed a Wagner opera, which goes on for hours and hours and hours, and there's so much playing involved, we used to take it in turns in the violin section for each violinist to take a little break for a few seconds and stretch our playing arm back, our left arm back. And we'd squeeze back as hard as we possibly could, like that, and take a few deep breaths. And then when we went back to playing, wow, it was fantastic. So you don't have to play a Wagner opera to incorporate that. It's really easy. And it doesn't take much room. You don't have to put your violin down, just squeeze your shoulder blades back and you'll see the difference. So let's have a quick look at playing while you're sitting down. So when you're sitting down playing, there's a real temptation to allow your chest to slump and your back becomes very stooped, and it's just so bad for you. So orchestral players learn pretty quickly to have a very healthy way of sitting because they're sitting there rehearsing for hours and hours. So the way to do it is to make sure that your back is against the back of the chair so that you're almost slightly tilted back, and then the chest is open, and that's it really. That's all you have to do. Just make sure your back is supported and you're slightly tilted back. I know it's not easy to have good posture if you're used to clamping with your head or raising your shoulder. There's all sorts of things that can give us a lot of pain, squeezing between our thumb and our first finger, or a feeling of pain in our arm because it's turned like that for such a long time. There's lots of things. There's no part of the body that can't feel pain because of the violin. But that's why posture is incredibly important. Posture isn't really about one rigid position. When you play, your head should be able to move, the violin should move, and your shoulders should be nice and relaxed and not taking part in anything. The only reason that the shoulders move is because they're on a socket. So try not to cross your legs or put the weight on one hip, or twist your spine in any way when you're playing the violin. It's very good to check whether you can just be facing the front in a natural position, put the violin under your chin and start playing like that. That's very important. So make the starting point a straight position of the head and a natural position of the violin where you can just look down the fingerboard like that. You can change your head position, right? More to the left or whatever, but just don't exaggerate anything. Again, if you're very stooped and you start your practice with a very high position like this, I think it's going to give you a lot of pain because it's very unnatural. And as the practice session carries on, you'll get lower and lower and lower. So it may well be that a pretty low position is correct for you because that's comfortable and you can just play without getting any pain. Well, that's good posture, okay? So don't impose anything on yourself or exaggerate anything because you think a violinist should be, holding the violin very high or whatever. Just be reasonable and keep it natural. I know it's not easy if you've got into habits of clutching with your head and your shoulder and clutching with your left hand, and it does lead to a lot of pain. But that's why undoing these things gradually, just gradually, is so essential for you to start enjoying your violin playing without any pain. So see what you can do about your own posture, and I'll leave it there. Bye bye for now. Bye.